No Hard Feelings is the latest sex comedy, of course, from the director of Good Boys and the Stars Academy Award winner Jennifer Lawrence. You have Andrew Barth Feldman. You got Natalie Morales, Ibn Amos Baccarat, and Laura Benanti. And simple premise of this is we follow a 32-year-old Uber driver, and she's almost on the verge of losing her childhood home. And she answers an advertisement to date a shy, introverted, and awkward 19-year-old from a wealthy family named Percy in order to boost his confidence before college and to pay off the debt for her childhood home. When it comes to the case of No Hard Feelings, this was something that I saw these trailers and I'll admit I was not pretty sold on this. I am a fan of Good Boys, of course. I thought that movie was actually really funny. It was one of the better comedies I've seen, and shows that when you don't have to listen to cancel culture, comedy can live on. But I was also pretty nervous about this going into it because it's the first time Jennifer Lawrence has done anything in a while. Plus, some of her comments about her being the first action hero did get a little bit under my skin, and I was not a big fan of some of those comments that she said. But I still wanted to respect the movie, and I still wanted to give this movie a slight chance. And I am very happy to report that this is a way better movie than I actually could have thought it was going to be. Usually with this, you would think this is horrible, but it was actually not too bad for a comedy. I quite enjoyed myself. This is not a movie that's going to reinvent the wheel or anything, but I thought this was actually quite competent. And easily, starting off with the positives, of course, is we gotta talk about it. We gotta talk about her, Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence, lover or hater, she is committed to her craft. She started off very early on with stuff like Winter's Bone and the X-Men series, even though she really did not like doing the makeup for when that does show a little bit in Apocalypse and a little bit in Dark Phoenix. And her best stuff like Silver Linings Playbook and The Hunger Games, I have to admit, she was really good in this. I thought she really committed to the game. I thought she was very funny. This is the most hyperactive, the most energetic, and this is the most unhinged and also the most hypersexual I've seen of Jennifer Lawrence. And this is older, but she is a very great actress. She won an Oscar, for Christ's sakes. And she does a lot of different roles very well. But comedy, her first time doing raunchy comedy like this, she's actually very committed and she actually puts a lot of effort into what she is giving. And I think she's actually very good in this. She really does a good job in what she has to do, because she's playing someone who has to flirt with a 19-year-old. And for some people, I've seen some controversy online. Some people say this is icky, it's very disgusting, but I just take it as this is like a hark back to the 80s and 90s, 2000s heyday of raunchy comedies, when you had the American Pie stuff and the House Party and all that stuff. And it's good to see her in something again after a break. I feel like this was much needed for her, because there was a point where I was getting a little exhausted with her, but I still have a lot of an entertaining factor with her. And she is Maddie. She not only acts very well in this with a lot of the crazy behavior she's doing, a lot of the funny, raunchy stuff, but she also produced this, so I definitely really enjoyed her. So we have to talk about, because Jennifer Lawrence is still a knockout, of course. Obviously, this is something that is obviously not gonna go away. There's also one scene in here when it comes to, which I'll get to, but I also thought the rest of the cast, such as Andrew Barth Feldman, he was really good here for what he had to do. I thought he had some nice moments with Jennifer Lawrence, of course. They have a nice little camaraderie back and forth. You also have Laura Benanti as the mother of Percy, Matthew Broderick, which I will say this is the best thing Matthew Broderick has done in quite a while. It's actually good to see him in her. Natalie Morales, Scott MacArthur, and Ebon Moss-Bachrach, and Kyle Mooney. I think the rest of those cats do a very good job. Let's get into it. The raunchy comedy in this movie, I think, is actually not too bad. There is a few of it that goes a little bit too on the nose. For some people, it will feel very sickening to them. Some people will be very sensitive about that. But for me personally, I just take it as to see that the fact that we can actually get a comedy that's actually doesn't have to hold back on any jokes, even if some people can't handle it. But I personally could tolerate the comedy, and I definitely really enjoyed some of the comedy here. There is one moment in here where this is basically probably one of the only few times you'll ever see this. You have Maddie and Percy, they're basically going skinny dipping as one of their dates, and the beach fight. That's all I'm just gonna say. Jennifer Lawrence, that entire moment had me in complete shock. It was basically where you get stuck in the game of Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle or Next Level game. It was pretty much like that in the case of Jennifer Lawrence basically fighting a bunch of kids trying to steal their clothes, and basically she's bearing everything. So I'm gonna say that right now. Damn! Just everything Jennifer Lawrence was doing in this movie, it was just putting me in a little bit of a funny, hysterical laugh. The cinematography and the editing and the music by Michael Dana and Jessica Rose Weiss, editing by Brent White, and cinematography by Israel Burrell is well done here. It's a good looking movie, $45 million budget. It's an hour and 43 minutes, and it doesn't really go too crazy with it. It doesn't have a lot of CGI. And also I appreciate the fact that this is a comedy that basically is just saying F you to cancel culture, because between this and The Blackening, which I do want to talk about, it's good to have those type of comedies where you don't have to worry about cancel culture and you don't have to worry about that side of people, because that side of people brings out the worst in you, obviously. They pretty much the reason why comedy is kind of stale now, because every joke has been made. The only jokes that I don't think should never be made is making the joke about autistic people, because that can be really offensive. But technical aspects and comedy and direction and writing aside, there are some heartfelt moments in here. Aside from the raunchy comedy side, it is a movie about two flawed people, and they find each other. Not in the way this movie is trying to promote it, because it's not trying to promote anything like that. It's basically just saying, it's basically just for laughs, and it will require how your taste is, depending on how you feel about that. And I will say that by the end of the movie, I was quite invested. I was very much invested, and our characters get what they wanted, and he gets to go to college, he gets to step out of his shell, and she gets to save her home. Now, going into the negatives, I will say, I will have to say there is some jokes here that I don't think 100% works, and some of it might be a little bit too much for some people. This is the writer of Good Boys, so you do have to be in that mindset, and some of the jokes can get a little bit too much for some people if you can't handle it. But I think for me, the reason why I'm able to take it as much as I can is because I just know it's only fiction. Yes, there are some jokes I find sensitive too, but it's in the way you execute it, in the way they're written. That's where I can just fully let myself enjoy it for what it is, and that's where I do enjoy it. I will also say there are some moments in here that may or may not be sensitive to most people. Some people are going to get really angry when it comes to this movie, but here's the thing. Cancel culture stuff has been sensitive towards comedies for quite a while. It's time to take back the comedy genre and tell cancel culture to just go away and get as inoffensive as you want. Comedy is meant to offend you. Comedy is meant to have jokes you don't agree with. Comedy is also meant to be heartfelt. I'm sorry if some of you people can't handle a freaking joke. I'm sorry if you can't handle the cold-hearted truth. But I can see some people walking away not liking some of the comedy and not liking some of the things being presented here. And some people will try to cancel this and boycott it. Not me. But overall, I will say no hard feelings. This is a fun time. I actually thought this actually had a lot more to say than it did. It's not going to reinvent the wheel. It's not trying to be Oscar winner type, and it's not trying to be the greatest thing ever. But what it wants to be a simple little movie like this, I welcome it. I like the performance of Jennifer Lawrence. I love the chemistry that she and Barth Feldman had. The directing was spot on. The comedy landed for the most part, even if a few jokes didn't work. And by the end of it, I enjoyed myself. So, yeah. At the end of the day, I will walk away and I will give this an Epictastic for being a good little comedy that knew what it was. Well, that's going to do it for the video that you just watched. If you want to see more, my channel icon is up here. If you want to see more content from me, all my social medias are right here in this end card. I will also leave a playlist and a video here for you to see what the channel is about. As always, acknowledge me, stay Epictastic, join the Epictasticness, and you guys keep it cool.